What's up, people? This is RGC and welcome to another video. A deviation from the norm here. I typically do pickup videos featuring a variety of games from different consoles, but this time I'm just going to concentrate on the Nintendo Wii. So I will go through roughly the 30 titles or so I picked up over the last month, and I also discuss some other aspects of Wii collecting and trends I'm starting to see. So let's go on and get started. There are some games that might be considered undesirable or shovelware here. Okay, let's get started. I believe this one was 89 cents at GameStop, and that is Harvey Birdman, Attorney at Law. This one was, I think, less than $2 at GameStop. The Godfather, Black Hand Edition. Winter Sports 2, the next challenge, is pretty cheap. Don't have the sticker on that one. This one was 89 cents at GameStop, and that is Facebreaker, KO Party. Next up, Animal Planet, Vet Life. Some odd simulation game there. Pets, Sports. Pretty affordable game here. I think I only paid like $2 and something for it. And that is a Battalion Wars 2. Pretty cool first party title there. Super Pickups. It was 89 cents at GameStop. I'm part of their rewards or pro member, so knocked a few cents off. Hello Kitty Seasons. Chevrolet Camaro Wild Ride. Emergency Mayhem. It's the first time I've seen this one. It's the only time I've seen it. Yeah, in person. So yeah, I decided to pick that one up. Nice little RPG here. Baroque. It's also on the PlayStation 2 though. I think this one's pretty cheap. Target Terror. 89 cents. Kawasaki Snowmobiles. Zoo Hospital. Another one of those simulation games. My Horse and Me. My Horse and Me Riding for Gold. The Munchables. Glacier 3, The Meltdown, it's 89 cents. Okay, I got a few here that were local store pickups. All of these games you're seeing in this video were purchased locally, if not at a retro store roughly within like an hour of my house. So none of these games were purchased online. Not that there's anything wrong with purchasing games online. It's just that this particular time, all of these were picked up locally. Professor Heinz Wolf's Gravity. Cruisin'. Iron Chef America Supreme Cuisine. Yeah, not expecting too much from that one. Agatha Christie, Evil Under the Sun. This is like my second copy of that one. I think I do have some GameStop ones in here mixed up as well, whatever. ATV Quad Kings. Kawasaki Jet Ski. As you can see, most of these games are pretty affordable too. So let's see, Trackmania, Build to Race. Pet Pals, Animal Doctor. That cover art is hilarious. Okay, Ocean Commander, Shmup, the underwater shooter, 95 cents. How could you go wrong with that? It's okay, it's not great. Guilty Party, Disney published. Yeah. Let's see, Candace Cane's Candy Factory. Yeah, that was picked up at GameStop. Action Girls Racing, not a good racing game. Uh, Interesting one here. Rogue Trooper, Quartz Zone Massacre, Glacier 2, Escape from Bug Island, and finally Ram Racing. As you can see, that one kind of had a higher price than some of the other ones on it, but yeah, looked interesting. I've never seen it and decided to pick it up. It's a great time to pick up Wii titles for cheap. Okay, so now the topic, of course, is some of the trends and what I'm seeing regarding Wii collecting. Basically, I have a presence on Instagram, and I'm starting to see more and more people get into collecting for the Wii. I see a shift from the Nintendo 64 toward the GameCube and toward the Wii. Mainly what I believe is happening is many of the people who grew up in the N64 era, most of them have already gotten the games they want. Of course, the prices are already pretty high for N64. You could say the GameCube prices are rising as well. So as the demographic, as these people are aging, they want to get the games they had back during childhood, that nostalgic feel, and as well, these people are older now and they have more, income where they can afford to pay more for the games that they want. These games are older, they're not being produced, there's less of them. Many of these games have been lost over time, destroyed over time. There are fewer copies in good condition. Hence, we got a smaller supply than initially, and we have a higher demand, and that has kind of contributed to higher prices. Yes, we do have speculators in the game. Yes, we do have resellers, of course, but the resellers are not really responsible for the high prices per se. It has a lot to do with the people who can afford to pay more for those games. So, if we really want prices to go down, we would basically have to tell people to stop paying more for what they want, and not everybody's willing to do that. So, can't necessarily blame the people who just want what they want. As stated, more people have more dispensable income. People have jobs, this, that, whatever. So that's the case. So people are moving from N64. GameCube is rising as well. And we're seeing more people even shift to the Wii. And maybe because some people that are older now, they kind of grew up in the Wii era. They have more income. Maybe they just want to get some of those older games. But another good thing about the Wii now, of course, is the games are pretty cheap in comparison to those previous generations I already mentioned. GameStop is basically giving away Wii games. You could get many decent quality, good games for the Wii, many of which under $2. They do a lot of buy two, get one free sales. They have, of course, the Power Up Rewards program, which is really beneficial for those who want to amass a large collection of Wii games. Same thing in general for the other 7th gen consoles as well, such as the PlayStation 3 and the 360. The thing is now, collecting wise, for the Wii as well as those other two consoles I just mentioned, is that GameStop has a big influence on the 7th gen collectability and rarity for these games in the future. And what I mean by that is GameStop is a major retailer nationwide that they have a lot of games and they sell a lot of them and they take a lot in trade as well. It's a very popular place to shop for games, and they have the incentives such as the Power Up Rewards program. The thing is that GameStop they take in a lot of games without their original cases and manuals, and in some cases they even throw out cases and manuals for some of these games. And the collector, for the most part, is going to want the case and the manual. So, as time goes on, there are going to be less and less print or copies of games with their original case and manual. And that kind of leads to why we may start to see some of these rather cheap games right now begin to rise in price, because there's going to be fewer copies in complete form. And as stated before, a collector is typically going to want a complete copy of a game. This is not like Super Nintendo or N64 or even NES, where people are mostly happy with just having the cart. Most people who collect games in disc form want the complete copy. Another trend I'm starting to see is, of course, that the Wii section is getting smaller at GameStop. So that's another thing to keep in mind too. Don't know what's going to happen in the future of the Wii U. We already know the Wii U is backwards compatible with the Wii, hence why I think Wii games are still kind of plentiful, but they're starting to kind of wane off, especially as the new Nintendo console approaches. The new console may be backwards compatible with the Wii U, but odds are it's not going to be backwards compatible with the Wii. So over the last 3 years of Wii collecting I've noticed that gradually the sections have started to become smaller for the Wii, understandably. And even looking at the current gen right now, the Wii U section is pretty small. So you can always bet that Nintendo games are going to have some collectability, or there's going to be people interested in collecting for the Wii. As stated, there's a big rise in popularity. I'm seeing more people into Wii collecting than before. Other things too: Instagram, social media, YouTube, hidden gems videos, collection videos, all these things contribute to things becoming more popular and people wanting to get in it. So that's one of the main reasons I really don't complain about high prices on some of these games, because sometimes we have to look at our own personal influence on what's going on. Uh, Me doing pickup videos, maybe you, it gets more people into it. Not that I have a big install base or a large following on either YouTube or Instagram, but it adds up. It has a cumulative effect, and more people get into it. Also, too, we have larger, more successful YouTube channels such as Metal Jesus Rocks. He's doing Wii hidden gem videos, even PlayStation 2 and stuff like that. It makes things more popular, especially when they're not being currently produced. There's going to be a increase in demand, yet a smaller supply. Casey the Game Nerd just completed a Wii set. He was on Metal Jesus Rocks' channel. That has a lot of that popularity, that audience can contribute to more people getting into this stuff. So as stated before, I'm starting to see a wave toward Wii becoming more popular and collectible. Back to GameStop for a quick minute though. GameStop has of course reprinted many of the in-demand, rare yet good titles for the Wii, which is good. It leads to more games being readily available for people who just want to play them. But at the same time, too, as I mentioned before, GameStop is throwing away the original cases and manuals for a lot of the other, maybe not so desirable games. And of course, as stated, sometimes too, they take in games that don't come with their original case and manuals. And I think that's kind of what they do for the most part on the consoles now. But as stated before, most collectors are going to want a complete copy of the game. So in a sense, we have GameStop helping out, getting games reprinted that are in demand that people want, that could be rare at one time. like the Godzilla Unleashed game. We already know about that. We already know about GameStop's antics regarding Xenoblade Chronicles. They reprinted Dokapon Kingdom, from what I've heard and researched multiple times, stuff like that. So it does have some good impact on the market. So GameStop is not all bad, but as stated before, they do lead to some of the common games as well as some of the undesirable shovelware games. As included in that too are the cheaper games being harder to find in complete form. And what I mean by that, additionally, is that GameStop often throws away the case and manuals or cover art, manual, case, whatever, what have you, on games that are under a certain dollar value amount. And that's going to play a huge role in some of the harder to find, rarer, more obscure, cheap games for the Wii. So I'll just say this. I kind of have a idea that some of the hardest to find, rarest Wii games will be cheap. At least as within the next few years. Maybe so you can find them pretty cheap, but as time goes on, these really cheap games that were cheap initially will be pretty high in price. So that's just an idea I kind of have regarding that. So one other thing about collecting for disc-based games, we especially too, is that I believe that it's always going to be easy to find a loose disc, but finding a cover art and manual in good condition may prove to be a challenge in the future. So that's just something to keep in mind. We also have to the intrigue, the motivation behind collecting, people being drawn to or against collecting for certain consoles. We know the Wii is a very polarizing console. Most people, they're not really on the fence with it. Either they really like it or they really don't. So when it comes to Wii and rarity and games and stuff like that, many of these Wii games may not be rare by NES or SNES standards, but there will be rare, obscure, hard to find Wii games and other 7th gen games. So, a lot of people say, oh, there's not going to be any rare Wii games. There's not going to be any rare PlayStation 3 or 360. Yes, there will be rarer, harder to find games for the 7th gen consoles. It's just that as of right now, and in the future too, these games may not or likely won't ascend to the astronomically high prices that we see on the older generation consoles. And a big thing about that is gaming is bigger than it used to be back then in 4th gen, 5th gen, and 6th gen. And another thing too is that disc-based games are cheaper to remake or can easily be reprinted at any time. And that's not the case with cartridge-based games. That technology is not around really anymore on a large scale. So that's something to always keep in mind too. Video games in general, especially the more current gens, are not really the best investment you can make. But there's nothing wrong with collecting for a console system you like. And the Wii does have some good games. There's plenty of shovelware. We already know that on the Wii. But that's the same thing that can be said about the Nintendo 64 library. There are plenty of trash games on that console. There's plenty of trash games on the Super Nintendo. There are plenty of trash games on the NES as well. And it's just that it seems like the older consoles is just more acceptable to go for a full set because it's just older. And that's kind of where I believe being blinded by nostalgia kind of comes into play. Just because it's old doesn't necessarily mean it's good. Just because you grew up with it doesn't necessarily mean it's better than anything else. But that's just my personal opinion. As stated before, I do believe we are kind of starting to see some of the uncommon to rare Wii games start to be well known. And that kind of comes from research, online research. You can look at eBay sold listing, how frequently those games are sold or listed. You can research on forums. You can talk to other collectors. You can look at sales data regarding the games on VG charts. You can talk to store employees. And plus, you can take your field experience or your experience, your time actually being out there in the stores looking for the games, taking into account how often you see a certain game, whether you find it in complete form or not, stuff like that. I have friends that work at retail stores. I have a good friend that works at GameStop. She's been working at GameStop since before the PlayStation 2 days, and she's told me about many games that she used to see all the time that eventually became obscure to rare to really expensive now. And she's even told me about certain Wii games that she barely ever sees. And she kind of helps me find or track down games that are harder to find or already kind of expensive for certain consoles too. So over the last 3 years, pretty much of my Wii collecting, I have acquired most of the Wii games that I believe may be kind of hard to find in the future or already kind of hard to find. I do have a friend that he's a Wii collector as well, and he kind of wants me to go for a complete Wii set, and I could do it, but I don't believe I really want to. I don't really necessarily have the space to do it. But as far as affordability, it's a great console. It's really cheap to collect for, and they're all hard games to track down for it, but it can be done. It can be done. But, all in all, it's important that you do what you want to do, you collect what you want to collect, play what you want to play. That's very important. I'm not here to dictate to you what you should do with your own money. You work hard for your money. I'm assuming so, and I work hard for mine as well. I went to college for 9 years, and I'm not going to let someone on the internet that I don't know dictate to me what I should do with my own money. And, I'm not going to tell you what to do with your own money. So, do what you like, do what you enjoy. But the Wii does have some good games. It is worth considering. And hey, if you can find decent games real cheap, try them out. Hey, add them to your collection. If the game is cheap and you happen not to like it, it's not that much money lost. You can easily trade it or sell it away and get something else you like. Anyway, so that's just my perspective on Wii collecting and the 7th gen games and their projected collectability, rarity, obscurity, whatever you want to consider it. But I'd like to thank you for watching. Feel free to hang around. You know how to do that. I got a few more pickup videos coming. Mainly going to concentrate on doing some gameplay videos. I'm still working on my retrospective of 2015 regarding all of the PlayStation 2 games I've completed last year. So, best of luck to you guys. Have a good one. Peace.